And other times I'll get questions like, when did you know it was right to go out on your own? And I don't have a great answer to any of these because they're like those little, they're those Mario Kart accelerants. It's like, hey, if you're going down the track and you're looking for it, then and you don't always hit it. But if you're looking for it, you'll spot it. And if you're positioned well on the track, you can hit that thing and then it accelerates you. Sam,
buddy.
Welcome to our first episode of the Multipliers podcast. Thanks for spending some time with me. What's on your mind?
Dude, we get to spend a lot of time together. And if this conversation is anything like the other conversations we've been having, one, we're going to have fun. Yeah. And two, hopefully everybody listening will also have fun. I mean, maybe they'll learn something, but at least have some fun, right?
Yeah. When I called you about doing this, I said, I don't know if anyone will actually listen and watch this.
But who cares?
But if nothing else, for me, it's an opportunity to focus on this concept that I think is really powerful, this concept of multiplying. And so let me set it up for the audience. Let me set it up for you. Intentionally, we have no agenda. So you and I have no idea where this will go. But we have these conversations quite often. And you and I have these conversations, Michael and I, you and Michael, the three of us when we do our offsites. But equally as valuable, there's some really, really fascinating people out there who generally run under the radar. Many of them are not doing anything that merits being a guest on a podcast. But when you talk to them, you pull back the layers. They are multiplying aspects of their life that don't get the recognition that generally merits being a guest on Name the Podcast. So the concept is multipliers. And we have been speaking about multipliers in an AI context. Hey, I can use this series of things to take 1 hour of output and turn it into 10 hours of output. And that's all cool and well and good. And we'll bring up things that we find interesting. But the concept of multipliers relates to much more than just productivity. So there are certain people in my life and your life that are happier than others. Or there are certain people who have relationships or who have this ability to maintain really good relationships. Or there are people who always just have a perspective that I appreciate. Yeah. And I would put them in the category of there's something they're doing special that allows them to beat the mean.
Yeah.
Beat the mean by several standard deviations. And you have on one end, in the business context, someone like Elon Musk who, what was it last week, merging his companies into one that will be the largest, assuming it goes public, largest public company of all time. And you go, how does one human being produce that? And regardless of what you think of his politics or not, you have to appreciate what he's built. I don't know if people like that necessarily have personal happiness. I don't get into that, but I think from a business standpoint, he's done some remarkable things. But then there are other people, I think in my life who, the person who is just always positive. It's like, how does that person do it? Or at the gym, right? You go to the gym, there's that lady who is there every single morning. And you go, okay, she's been here since I've been working out the last few years. She's probably been doing this for decades. Like, what is it that drives her to come every single day and just always, and I use her, it could be him too. But, so anyway, that's the concept of multipliers. And sometimes it'll just be you and I chatting. We'll bring on guests, but those will be guests who there's something that they're doing that we want to understand better because it's producing outputs that exceed anything that is typical or average. And we'll have Michael on from time to time. He's on a cruise this week, so he's
living it up.
So that's the setup, Sam. What do you think?
I was just going to say, I think it's kind of an interesting maybe discussion, chat, to say that, to give a little bit more context. You and I have known each other since we were 7 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And we are in the minority few who have been best friends since we were 7. And we have this dynamic to where we're very different, but we're very similar in some ways. But and that means, so since we've been friends since we were 7, we'd go on trips together. We do a lot of stuff together. And we find ourselves in these conversations that really bore our wives and quite frankly would bore most anybody that would be around, because as fun as golf is, and I think we like golf as much as not many people. we like golf, but as fun as it is to have a hobby, we've always, over those, how many years is that? 38 years, whatever the math is. We've always had some type of discussion where we'll just start riffing and going. And right now, I feel like things are kind of amping up even more because we're going through like this, I don't know, what would you call it? Revolution, evolution? What would you call this?
Transformation. Yeah.
Transformation. So we're going through this moment in time. And so like all of the sparks and all of the, the dynamics and the chemistry and everything that's happening, it's too fun not to do. It's like, well, we should just do this like this.
Yeah.
And I'll tell people too. So Spencer and I had our first lawn mowing business together when we were 21, and we have done a lot of businesses together. And today with Adventures in A.CRE and all the things that we have going, it's really fun that we get to do this, and we get to do it with Michael too, which Michael's a ton of fun in our team dynamic. But unlike the last audio series where it was very engineered around real estate financial modeling, and which is your guys' subject matter expertise. I'm not a subject matter expertise in that. This one will be more, what would you say? It would be, obviously we're going to talk about multiplying, but it's going to be more conversational about how to be the better version of who you are, because there's always something there's always something you can get from another person. Like you said, even happiness, like that could be one. But what about like breaking through just different abilities and barriers? A lot of people struggle.
Yeah.
Are there tricks? Are there ways to get to advance forward? So I think there's a lot of really cool conversations that we've had that why not have them with everybody else?
I think that's right. So most who are listening are likely real estate specific, and we'll have probably an outsized share of real estate guests, and our topics will revolve somewhat around real estate simply because we're real estate guys. But you, Sam, are a real estate guy adjacent.
Yeah.
Right?
Adjacent.
I mean, I say adjacent because you've done your fair share of deals, but you are not an operator, right? So you tend to be capital and you offer strategy to it. Tell the audience what you do, what your expertise is.
It's funny because I was asking ChatGPT what my expertise is.
Okay.
Just yesterday. And that's a fun exercise, by the way. Anybody, if you're having conversations with any LLM, ask it to tell you stuff about you. I would say my passion is into tapping into like market frequency. Okay. Now I apply that through sales and advertising and strategy. But a lot of people treat marketing and sales like it's 2 + 2 = 4, or just like the brute force kind of way. You just go out and hustle, gut it out. And I am not that kind of marketing and salesperson. I love looking at a market, seeing what the frequency is, and then tapping into it. Because to me, it's the elegant and strategic way of doing it. So my role at Adventures in A.CRE has been to see the market through your guys' eyes. And then from my outside perspective, help us all tap into what's actually happening there.
Yeah.
Right. And I do that. And I will say this, you and I have a collaborative way of getting to that final target together somehow. And I think that's because we've been doing it since we were 7. Right. And so somehow we arrive at the market frequency, which is, hey, what's the product market fit? What do people need? What do we need? How can we help them?
Yeah. So
but it's fun to play
practice, you have a software company.
Yep.
That enables people to, let me see if I can state it back to you, but that enables people to get ads live in seconds rather than hours.
Yeah. The time efficiency is one hook.
Okay.
But the technical efficiency is probably the better hook. Or in other words, ads so easy that your grandma could do it.
That's right. Ads so easy your grandma can do it. And so for the real Neanderthals of us on the call, Explain this a bit better, because probably most of us have never run ads. I've ran a few ads through A.CRE and I did none of that work. We hired someone who ran the ads. So explain to us why, and it's your company's called Apex. Like why does it exist?
Yeah. So there's two dynamics to this. Number one is why ads? Why even do ads? Ads are the only way to where you can control thousands of eyeballs at any given point in time. A lot of people talk about social media marketing, which they think is posting stuff on their LinkedIn profile, on their Facebook profile, whatever. That's how it started out. But those platforms are pay to play. So if you post something on your Facebook profile, and let's say you have 100,000 followers, you're going to get your grandma and your aunt and your wife, the same 10 people that see all your stuff. They're the ones that are going to see it. But your target audience, who you want to reach, you have to pay.
Yeah, here's what's interesting, really quick. I posted something on LinkedIn last week, and I think it got 10,000 impressions, something like that, which an impression is like an eyeball, right?
Yep.
On a different post, which that post was no more, there were no more comments and no more likes than the one I did. And I posted a comment on that post, and I got more impressions on the comment from someone else's post than my own post. Is that what is that what we're talking about here? And why would that happen?
So LinkedIn is an algorithm all by itself, right? LinkedIn does lean more into like they monetize through ads, but they also monetize through their navigator. Right. So the recruiting side of things. And so they do have more of an incentive to put eyeballs on conversations that are relevant, to put on posts that are relevant. So while you will get more play organically, so organically means no ads, no money, no paid advertising. You will get more play on a platform like LinkedIn. You will still not get millions of views unless you go viral, right? And going viral is like, if every post you did went viral, that would be great, but that's not a strategy, right?
What's frustrating about LinkedIn, to go viral on LinkedIn, there's all of these gimmicky comment Superman in the comments, and I'll send you this free name the thing. And as someone that tries to be, I don't know if it's trying to be authentic. That's probably the
not gimmicky.
I just hate those gimmicks. And so I see that, and I think I've tried it once and it worked. And I hated every second of it. I'm like, okay, no, never again.
You feel like a little bit of a schmuck. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I feel like a schmuck. Anyway.
Well, so here's the other side to that. Okay. So you're posting content and you're doing it, and some of your posts get, 10,000 impressions. Some of them get 500 impressions. That's great. However, you don't move the needle, or you don't move somebody down the sales funnel towards whatever customer journey you have without redundancy. The first time they see you, it's like, oh, great. But they're not going to follow you. They're not going to do anything. They're just going to notice you.
Yeah.
And so the real way to get somebody to find you, so that's that attention layer, be interested in you, and then see enough of you to actually go towards, well, what do they sell? What are they about? Whatever that journey is. They can't see you a time. They have to see you again and again and again. And organically, you cannot engineer that. With paid ads, you can.
Got it. So that's what you do. So, and then you make producing and posting those paid ads easy?
Yeah. So if you fast forward to before UpX, you have to be what we call a media buyer.
Okay.
And basically you have to be like a technical nerd. You'd have to know how to set up everything, and you'd have to have all these technical strategies and attributes, like all this stuff. All of the technical stuff is baked into our software. So you just have to know, I want to run an ad for this thing. You click the button, and then we upload all of that through the software.
So how did you get into this?
It was a really weird way. I mean, honestly, it's funny when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of bounce around from thing to thing to thing, trying to find out who you are, like what you want to be when you grow up. Eventually, I ended up in digital marketing. Eventually, I started serving an audience of doctors. Eventually, my ads got good enough to where Facebook published a case study on my agency. When they did that, this software company saw that case study and they said, do you guys do consulting? I ended up acquiring that software company because they were doing what most entrepreneurs do and building a product that there was no market for.
Mm.
But they had built the guts, the bones of something that me and my partner were like, we can quickly pivot this to what our real pain point was. And it all started out as, products that start by scratching your own itch, you know?
Yeah.
And so we made it so instead of having to hire a media buyer ourselves and our own marketing agency, we just used this software. And it was like a printing machine. We had all the ad creatives and everything that worked. We just needed a machine to duplicate it, and we needed to multiply. So we
Yeah.
created software that multiplies.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I know the audience is like, okay, are you interviewing him and know the answer to these questions? I know I've read between the lines, but we've been friends for so long that some of this stuff, it's like all of a sudden you and I are talking, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing this now. It's like, interesting. That's cool. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. I did not realize, buddy, that you were using this software before you acquired the company.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we were
And
using it.
I mean, yeah, what a great way to prove out that it
You know,
works, you know?
well, it's interesting because they had built it as a reporting and attribution thing. And number one, that's not what we call an open wound offer. It's not like this bothers me every day.
Yeah.
So that was the first problem with it. The second problem was there was other platforms that did the same thing and they did it better. And so we were like, but they were really nice. Bradley, who's now a partner in UpX, was really a great, nice guy. And, we just saw there's all of this work put in. There was $1 million worth of back end software engineering that was put into this platform, which basically was going to go into the trash bin,
Yeah.
right? Because they built a product without
A market.
a real good market, to be honest with you. It maybe had a market, but it wasn't like, again, that open wound,
Yeah.
this bugs me every day kind of market. Well, we were an agency with the open wound. And to give you an idea what that looked like, on the day to day, we in our business, we couldn't grow past 25 or 30 clients. We couldn't. At 25 or 30 clients, we would have to hire people. And hiring people with the media buyer expertise is expensive, number one. And two, they all come in with like these prima donna, they're a bunch of entitled jerks,
Yeah.
And so you try one out for 2 or 3 months, they make more, they overpromise the world, and then they make all these mistakes, and you got to go through and fix them. It's like, dude, I'm spending more time managing this person than I am growing. So it's a big problem.
Yeah.
And admittedly, me or my partners have never been great at hiring that type of talent anyway. So it made it really challenging. But with UpX, as soon as we installed that potential to multiply and duplicate, we literally went from being able to, it was a 45-minute process that needed quality control, okay, and an immense amount of focus and knowledge, to your grandma could literally do it in 1 minute. And we went from 20 clients to well over 100 in 2 months, and it was easy. And all because we just found the thing that we could multiply, the big constraint in the business, we released it, and boom, off it went.
That is fascinating. Were you looking for this thing, or is it just like,
No,
how do those sorts of
no,
opportunities come along?
I don't know. Like, it wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that case study, and you can't get a case study by Facebook. Like, I can't approach Facebook and say, hey, will you do a case study? That you can't do that.
Yeah.
We just, I don't know. I think you have to get luck. Luck is a part of the game.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It's a part of the game. Now, the whole luck and preparation thing, I mean, we were just working and taking the advertising that we were doing for our clients. We were getting better and better and better all the time. I will say that's probably one thing that we would do. I wouldn't oversell what we were doing. What I mean by that is we would deliver the results that we were confident and capable of delivering, but not more than that. And a lot of people in that space tend to overpromise, and they burn a lot of bridges. But we ended up keeping a lot of clients happy because of just the ethics that we had.
Yeah.
And that enabled us to take campaigns that weren't quite working and enough margin to work on them until they did work. And that's what led to I remember our Facebook rep reached out to us. We just gotten this Facebook rep, and they're like, hey, you're doing pretty good at a couple of places. Would you mind if we did a case study on you? We're like, sure.
Huh.
Uh, and ultimately, when they published that case study, they showed us things about our advertising that we didn't know. Because they have all this stuff that happens. You have
Oh, yeah,
tracking and
yeah.
attribution, all that. They had stuff like they knew where people would swipe their credit cards, so they knew all that data. And they're not going to give you that, but our rep was like, "So, just so you guys know, these campaigns over here do really good. This style over here does not do very good."
I mean, but isn't it interesting what you're doing now? And there's been some compounding effect from the efforts that you've been putting in over the last decade or more, however long you've been at it. Um, but every once in a while, one of these lucky things comes along.
Yeah. Yep.
It like the visual I have in my mind is Mario Kart.
Yeah.
And there's like like those accelerants, and you're just like cruising along, and then
And if you
there's
can
one
hit
there
it,
one it is, and you hit it,
go.
and right?
Yeah, good one.
And for you, coming across that software, which now you own, was one of those things. And yeah, call it luck or whatever, preparation. But I, so for me, I mean, I think about most of my career, and some portion of it's strategic.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I directionally it's strategic.
Yeah.
I spoke earlier today at a university, and there was a question like, "Why did you start A.CRE?" And other times I'll get questions like, "When did you know it was right to go out on your own?" And I don't have a great answer to any of these because they're like those little they're those Mario Kart accelerants. It's like, hey, if you're going down the track and you're looking
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah.
then and you don't always hit it. But if you're looking for it, you'll spot it. And if you're positioned well on the track, you can hit that thing and then it accelerates you.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about those, for those who have who have played Mario Kart, that you'll appreciate it, right? It's like it accelerates you, but and as soon as the accelerations end, you're back to normal. Now you're further down the track, but you're back to normal, and there is actually a little bit of like, where's the next?
Looking for the next
You're looking for the
accelerant.
next one, and you get a little frustrated because there's not another one, and then you're on the wrong side of the track, and you pass it, and you start questioning yourself, like where. But
That's crazy. That is so relevant. That
right.
is so true too. By the way, I wanna go back. What's your answer? When they say, "Why did you start A.CRE?" What do you say?
So I say I'm an accidental tech founder. I say that because that's
Okay.
very true, right? CRE agents is by accident. A.CRE isn't so much by accident, but A.CRE was never intended to be a business. So it's kind of a business by accident. It's a business out of momentum, a business out of it's like the crowd insisted that it become one, and so it did.
Well, you remember you told me, and I was saying, like, it's like a scratch your own itch thing?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I remember you told me different variations of this story, but it all kinda seemed to me like before you and Michael, nobody was scratching the itch of being transparent to the models and that kind of thing. Is that kind of
I
accurate or
mean,
no?
yes. No, absolutely. But that implies some strategy to it. It's like
Yeah.
Spencer or Michael one day sat down and said, the world is missing this thing. Let's bring it to the world. The reality is,
Yeah.
I've been running the development company in Panama, and we needed marketing. And I wasn't a marketing guy, but we needed marketing. And everyone there, the only way they market is they go to these housing fairs. They happen about once every couple months. They set up a booth. They hire a bunch of attractive women, and they have some nice videos, and they will sell their project at the housing fair. And that's how everyone does it. And I don't know if it's kind of my way, just like if everyone's doing it that way, let me see if I can do it a different way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not a great trait because sometimes the way everyone else is doing it is the right way, but oftentimes it's not. And so I always kind of reject the status quo. And so everyone is doing that, which we did that as well, by the way. And those housing fairs are crazy. If you want an experience, you know those housing fairs, Sam. So I'm talking to the audience now. In fact, Panama all came around because Sam and I took a trip down to Panama at a
Can
time
I,
where, my world was falling apart from a
would it be
person.
okay if I back up just a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
Because I think that the audience, again, we talked about, we've been friends since we were 7, but I think that the audience sees your videos on YouTube and different things when you're teaching the accelerator, and they see, in fact, I remember somebody talking about you're the best Excel guy, a wizard of all this. And in fact, when I watch you, my wife, when we watch you put together an amortization cheat or whatever you
Table.
call it,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, and your
Schedule, yeah.
fingers are moving a million miles an hour. I wanted to tell everybody, just since we were little kids, so we met at 7, I would go to Spencer's house, and he was the one friend that I had that had a computer. And so we would play the NFL. That's the neighborhood football, the neighborhood football league. We would go play the NFL, and then we would come in and we'd go to their back room, and his brother Joe would be back there playing on their Commodore 64. Is that what it was?
Early days Commodore 64. Yeah.
I don't remember. I just remember it had the
That was the
black.
first one. I mean, we had a whole bunch of computers over
And
the
so
years,
we
but
would go and we would watch Joe doing his thing. You would stand next to him and you would watch him. And I just kind of be like, whoa, what are they doing? And all of my experiences with the internet, with technology, I mean, I remember going to your house and hearing that, that
the dial-up.
you've got mail and American Online. So, and I can also say you've always been in Excel. Like, you've always been. When we had our mortgage company, you were in Excel. You were always doing this thing called modeling, even though you didn't know it was modeling. And so it's no surprise to me that that person that I knew when we were teenagers who would do that became the person who put out this library with Michael, of course, who put out this library of models that it was meant to be in a way. So in that sense, it is kind of freaky in a way to just think how, I don't know if it's destiny or what, but you arriving into this space and becoming that. I've seen this since we were 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And to me, it's really cool to see, actually, because I feel sometimes like when I'm watching you do, what do you say, amortization, what?
I mean, amortization schedule or amortization table. Yeah.
When I see you do it, which that's like easy for you. I just go back to when we were kids. I'm like, yeah, I've seen him do this a million times. Hey, Sam, this is what this means. Look at this.
Yeah. It's fun. And, I mean, if we talk about multipliers, a passion is a multiplier, if you think about it,
Yeah.
because what it does is it forces you, like this past weekend was Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl weekend. And I remember a couple days before, someone asked me, "Hey, and they said the two teams, which I don't even know. It was Seahawks and someone else.
I only know that Seahawks were in it because I used to live in Seattle and that's my team.
Yeah. I didn't do that. I worked on AI stuff all weekend, and in fact, I used to always say, and other people are doing it or watching the Super Bowl, I'm building models. But the passion's a multiplier. And if you have a passion and you really lean into it,
Yeah.
you can multiply simply because effort produces results, but effort sometimes is hard unless you're really, really excited about something. But anyway, coming back to my story, if I could.
Sorry.
So A.CRE, massive tangent, but A.CRE is around because when we were developing in Panama, we wanted to do things a little differently. And so I was like, what if I could do some web marketing? And I learned search engine optimization, created our own website, which I had no web design experience or any of that. I mean, you say I'm a tech guy, but I not never studied it. It's always been just kind of self-learn. So developed this website. And so I learned search engine optimization. That's the ability to get a keyword up the ranking. So that's the first piece of A.CRE. The second is just kind of like one of these things by chance. I took an entrepreneurship course at Cornell when I was a grad student. And the professor said, "Hey, I know all of you are going to go get jobs, and that's fine. And well, you should. But even if you're not going to become an entrepreneur, you should think of your career as your own business and yourself as your brand. And you need to control your brand. And in fact, your online brand is becoming increasingly important. And either the internet will decide who you are or you'll decide who you are. And what that's really saying is either you control the narrative around your name or someone else does. And I was like, ooh, that sounds like a fun project. And so I went and I bought spencerburton.org, and I wanted to get Spencer Burton at the very top. So if you search Spencer Burton, my name appeared up there. The problem is there was this country rock star, country music star from Canada named Spencer Burton, the big burly guy and he was at the top, and there was like, man, I got to beat this guy. And that became like my motivation. Like, let's beat the other Spencer Burton. There was that, and then there was another Spencer Burton who had like murdered someone and was on death row or somewhere else. So I'm like, okay, I got to like bump myself up. And so I bought spencerburton.org, but then I needed one of the techniques of search engine optimization is you want backlinks. And I'm like, no one's going to be linking to spencerburton.org. And so I thought, well, how about I create a blog? And on that blog, I'll post some content of something. I don't know what that content is, but I'll post some content. And it so happens in the same entrepreneurship class that we had just done a project where we had to give a pitch of ourselves. And so I created this whole pitch deck on Spencer Burton, the real estate guy that you should hire. Okay. And the name of my pitch was Adventures in CRE.
Oh my gosh.
So I need a blog. I just done this pitch, and it's all about lifting the spencerburton.org. And so I went and bought adventuresincre.com, and I posted my first blog post, which was on Stuytown. Blackstone had just bought Stuytown, and I opined on that. I mean, who was I to opine? I was like a first year business student figuring this out. But that was my first blog post. And then Michael, man, all these things, like life is interesting. So Michael had been living in Peru when he got accepted to Cornell. He married his wife, who's from there. And so he'd gotten accepted to grad school. And so he's like, I'm going to go, let's go down and spend some time with my wife's family before we go up and hunker down in upstate New York for a few years. And so he's in Peru. I'm in Panama. They released the names of like the class, and in our kind of real estate program, it's a very tight knit group. And so everyone kind of gets to know each other quick before we get to a campus. And because we're both in Latin America, we connected via email and then just hit it off. So Michael's doing that. So fast forward to Spencer getting adventuresincre.com. Michael and I are sitting in Statler Hall, and we're talking about, I don't know what. And I say, hey, yeah, I'm doing this blog thing because of this and that. And I need content. If you're looking for a way to kind of get bolster your name, let's do this. And Michael's saying, oh yeah, sure, let's do it. And so we just started posting stuff, and then it became a bit more. And so now that gets to what the point you were making, which is then we said, okay, what are we going to post? And we were frustrated that people weren't sharing models, and they're like, oh, let's share a model. That's a good thing to post. That's something that we're passionate about, would be helpful. And then it led over to, wow, this thing could help us get jobs.
Yeah.
And so we started sharing anyway. But the point, especially as it relates to multipliers, is a lot of them are by accident.
Yeah. Or luck.
But if you're being intentional about your life, or you're being intentional about your career, or about your education, you're being intentional about things, these accelerants just appear in your track. So quick aside, most AI platforms are built for tech engineers, not for commercial real estate professionals. They require you to become a prompt engineer, to understand which tools are going to do what, to ultimately track the latest and greatest models so that you get an output that you can trust. That's why we built CRE Agents. It's a series of AI coworkers built for commercial real estate by commercial real estate professionals, allowing you to harness the power of AI without having to learn to use AI. So head over to CREagents.com to learn more. And with that, let's get back to the pod.
Yeah.
And why not hit them?
Yeah.
So
no, I completely, it's so funny because so many times when I work with a lot of entrepreneurs because of this space we're in, we have a lot of people that we know, and beginning entrepreneurs are often in that stuck phase. There's a lot of reasons for it. They're afraid they're going to do the wrong thing or whatever. You and I have never really had that. Like we've always been, okay, that's the direction, and then start stepping towards that direction, and then you'll get directionally correct. The important thing is you have to be at least pointed in a direction,
Right.
And going back to your little like game thing, like if you're turned around, the game will tell you got to go this way, and so you're like,
It gives you
and
that.
so I think a lot of people just kind of just are stuck in the starting blocks, and they don't really just get out with everything. I mean, maybe going back to where we started, there are so many things where you can become exceptional. And it doesn't have to be in financial modeling. It doesn't have to be in advertising. It could be in anything. And it is fascinating to see people who have had asymmetric outcomes of some sort, their story and how they did it. Because if you look today, this website that you're talking about that was originally created, which by the way, if I think everybody watching or listening, it's a cheesy name.
It's a dumb name.
But when you know the origin story,
Yeah.
it's a cool name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, so AI. Okay.
Ooh, that's quite the pivot.
No, I think it relates because the ultimate multiplier is AI. And this group of students I was speaking with yesterday earlier today, I made this point that I think relates to this topic of, hey, you got these little like accelerants coming along your way.
Yeah.
There's never been a time where someone can differentiate themselves easier than now with this.
Yeah.
And you were sharing with me that so you have a Substack and you were drafting, what do they call them posts? Like, what do they call them on Substack?
It's an article. I actually just started it not too long ago, and I am not entirely sure the difference between a post, but I wrote an article.
Okay, so you wrote an article, whatever that is, and you were sharing with me about how, and by the way, Sam, who is not particularly tech savvy.
Yes, that's
Although
very fair statement.
Although very tech curious, okay? And always you tend to have like the latest thing.
Okay.
So I don't want to say not tech savvy because you definitely are, but you're not like the guy who tinkers with tech. You find stuff you think is cool. But anyway, so but you are one who's really embraced AI and a lot of different things you're doing.
Yeah.
And you were sharing with me with the Substack how you wrote it.
Yeah.
And obviously AI is helpful in writing and all this stuff. But the cool one where you're telling about the images.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you call that scary, creepy. I actually think it is emblematic of the multiplier effect of the technology. That it becomes an extension of you and expands the possibility of you.
Yeah.
So share with the audience the cat.
Yeah. So a little bit of background and then the cat. So
Okay.
I one of the things that's easy for me is to actually dialogue with AI, which sounds weird. And my wife thinks it's weird. She thinks it's weird. But for me, I like to do it because I can brain dump in a way, right? And so I've been doing that with ChatGPT over more than a year. And so I was, and usually depending on what model's the best, I'll be like, okay, maybe I'll start here and then I'll migrate my workflow to this thing into that thing. And there's different writing styles that I like. And this one was an article. And in this article, I didn't want it to be pithy or like ad copy. I wanted it to be developed concepts. And so what I did was I said, I'm going to write a post about what I call the 4 P's of happiness. And I guess some background, I did become a grandpa on Tuesday. That's what kind of made this whole thing.
This is the first time
what
I've ever had a
inspired.
friend that was a grandpa. So
I know. I'm only 45, by the way. If you're just listening, I'm only 45. But anyway, but we're lucky. It's a blessing. But anyway, so I have this thing that I teach to my kids, and it's called the 4 P's of happiness. All right, and they go like this: is purpose. Everybody was put here for a reason. And if you don't know that yet, then you can be directionally going in the right direction, which is a purpose. Okay. A plan. If you have a direction, you need a plan so you can move along the direction.
Yeah.
All right. The third is progress. You can't stay stuck. You have to move. And then the fourth is perspective. Okay. And so all of my kids know these. I share them internally as like a family thing. And when my grandson was born, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll put this out as an article on my Substack because I just started. I'm like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So I put it out there. And the way I did it was I actually spoke to AI and I went through every P, how I learned it, some of the stories and experiences that I had in my own life. And I probably spoke to it for 4 to 5 minutes. And then when I got done, I said, make me an outline and put in like the points of what I want to say. Then I took it over to Gemini, actually. I took it to Gemini and said, here's my written post. I need illustrations. And I did give it I went and found a style of art, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's kind of whimsical, is more like whimsical kind of, I don't know. It was, I really liked it. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I like the style of art, but obviously I don't want that image.
Yeah.
So I said, this is your style inspiration. And I gave it a prompt very similar to this. Said, you are my graphic designer. You're an illustrator that's job is to bring out the emotion and expression of this article. And then I gave it the article. And then I said, create for me a visual plan that has an image for every P, and it has a core, like an anchor image. And it went through and it gave me the entire thing. And then one by one, it was pushing out these images. And every image it gave me was flawless. I was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So I'd take it, put it on the article. I'd take it, put it on the article. And then there's 4 P. So I got 4 images. And then on the 5th P, that was the whole piece, right?
Yeah.
And it had like 4 pillars. It's really neat. And I noticed looking at the last P, I'm like, there's a cat in every image. Why is there a cat? I didn't tell it to put a cat in the image. And so I went back out of curiosity. I'm like, this is odd. And I went back to Gemini and I said, I'm noticing there's a cat in all of these images. Why did you put that there? And it said it was, like you said, I don't know if it's eerie or if it's insightful. I don't know. But it said, on your journey to happiness, my job as your illustrator is to bring out the essence of what you're truly saying. And this cat means 3 things. And number 1, as you're going through hard times and you're doing whatever it is you're doing, you're never alone. There's always a calm, present companion there with you. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I go, number 2 is the cat is patient, right? So patience as you're going through your journey. And it brought out all these things. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, first off, if you're a entrepreneur, especially, you know that most of this journey is alone.
Yeah.
And you also know when you're a younger entrepreneur, you feel alone. But when you're older and more experienced, you don't feel alone. There's something. And I was like, oh my gosh, it almost revealed something to me that probably, Spencer, was there through my language.
Yeah.
Because as I was going through, I like I said, it was a 4 or 5, 3-minute voice chat. And then it just dumped all of the meaning, the lines, and what was between the lines. It put that over. And the piece that it created was, first off, was artistically beautiful. Like it
Can you
elevated my, what's that?
Can you show us? Do you have
Yeah,
there
sure.
handy?
Yeah, I got it.
I think we can share screens on this.
All right, here it is. You see it?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the last image you were talking about?
Yeah, this is the last image.
There's the cat.
There's the cat. Okay.
Okay.
I became a grandpa today. And then if you go into, so this is purpose, and it's giving you directionally correct. There's the cat.
There's the cat. Okay.
Okay. And then plan, simple rules, beat big visions. There's the cat. And then progress. There's the cat right there, just looking at you, observing you.
Yeah.
and then perspective. There's the cat looking down at what you've just done together.
That's cool.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously AI is on all of our minds, and it relates to this concept of multiplier. But when you told me that, I thought the technology expands the possibility of what we can do and what we can accomplish. Hopefully it doesn't come and
Yeah.
destroy us. But right now, it's creating cute cats, and that cute cat, adds depth to. No offense, but I don't think you'd. I know that you would never
No?
produce that sort of thing on your own. And even if you hired someone to do it for you, they're going to produce what you ask them to do, and I can't imagine that they're going to spend that extra time to drop that cat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And this is all around AI, and I think it makes perfect sense to talk about the ability of AI to multiply you. I mean, it gave me a result that I wouldn't have been able to do that without it. Just
Yeah,
candidly. I mean, I've taught the 4 piece to my kids for a long time,
yeah,
but that taught me, isn't that weird? It taught me my 4 piece even that much more. And so in a way, it's a multiplier. AI is a multiplier, but I was telling you this the other day. It's also a magnifying glass,
hmm
right? And so what you, the user, have is what it will magnify and multiply. And I think that it is such an exciting time to have it. I personally, I tend to be the optimist. Like I don't necessarily. I think a lot of the fear, whatever is coming around, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that has mostly to do with how to promote things. If you notice, how does the news promote? It's always fear based. Like that's
yeah,
their playbook. And because I'm a marketing guy, I kind of know the playbook a little bit. So I'm like, I see this for what it is. Now, I'm equally as like blown away by its capabilities. But I do think it's a co-pilot and it is a multiplier, but it's a co-pilot of you, the user. And that to me makes it incredibly exciting. So I'm here for it. And I think we're about to hit one of those little speed
yeah.
things.
Well, yeah, if we haven't already hit it. Well, let's call that one a wrap.
Let's do it.
First episode, we'll we'll bring on interesting people, we'll bring interesting topics. Usually we'll do this in the morning. We're doing this in the afternoon for a variety of reasons, but normally we'll do this in the morning. At least me mentally, I get out of my steam room. Oh, by the way, that's a multiplier. The steam room, man. I get out of that steam room and I'm ready to conquer the world. I get out of the steam. I got some interesting things on my mind that hopefully will be add value to folks. So thanks for watching. Thanks, buddy, for
Yeah, thanks for doing
spending
this.
some
And
time with us.
anybody that listened to this whole thing, wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And I think if you sense the kind of fun that Spencer and I have together, and that we have with Michael too, by the way, there's going to be a lot of value, a lot of fun to have in these chats.
All right. See you next time.
There we go.